Let's take a look at this rider. If you'll notice, he's kind of pushing out his back foot when he goes to his hillside turn. Now let's look at his toe side turn. His toe side turn is much more effective. He's not swinging his back leg out to create the turn. He's using his center of mass over the toe side edge to engage it. Now the heel side turn, he continues to push the back foot out right here. Watch. The rider is using rotation at the hips, separating his lower and upper body by opening up or turning his shoulders towards his right. Then the hips follow, swinging his back leg out in front of him, creating his hillside turn. Let's take a look at a snowboard instructor and review his turns. Notice the instructor does not open up his shoulders or move him in the direction of his turn. He's flexing and extending his ankles and getting his center of mass way outside over his toe side or hillside edge to engage his turns. Let's take a look in slow motion. He's going to his hillside turn. There's no pushing. He seats down, flexes at the knees and hips, gets his weight out over his hillside edge to engage that turn. Much more effective, much prettier, and just a cleaner turn. Let's look at one of the other riders in class. Notice that she is pivoting around her front foot by swinging her back leg out in front and behind her to create her turning motion. Her upper body is completely counter-rotated at the waist, with her shoulders opening up and not remaining parallel over the board, as we saw in the instructor before her. A good exercise to clean up her turns would be as she initiates her toe side turn from her ankles, knees, and hips, she actually drives her left or front shoulder into the direction of her turn. That would stop it from counter-rotating. Steeper off-piste and bumpy terrain does require a little bit of rotation compared to riding in grooms. It's also key to remember that you must keep your lower body relaxed, flexing and extending at the hips, knees, and ankles in order to absorb the nuances of the terrain under the board smoothly, thus preventing falls. We'll explore more off-piste and bumpy riding in this coming week's lesson. On this run, she's working on her toe side and hillside turns a little bit, and they're coming along nicely. We'll continue to work on turns in our next week's assignment, and we'll go into some steeper stuff and some bumpy terrain, conditions permitting. Now remember, there's no right or wrong way, just a more effective way. Our goal is just to go out there and have fun, and if we can learn one item each week, then we've had a successful week. Look forward to seeing you guys again, and be ready to have a good time. Don't forget to review your stance diagram we gave out the first week of multi-weeks. We want the shoulders, arms, and the snowboard perpendicular to the snow or to the surface that we're on. The arms and the snowboard should be parallel to each other. Imagine looking straight down from above on the rider on the snowboard, with a line drawn from the tail through the nose in the center of the board. Our shoulders should be parallel with that line and not across it. The blue dotted line depicts the rider's shoulders. Notice how they're parallel with the line on the snowboard. Even when we're turning, we want to maintain them in the close proximity to parallel and not across the snowboard, as we see when some of the riders are steering with their back foot. When the rider represents the depiction in the upper left-hand corner of the first diagram and our second diagram, everything's parallel and lined up, we call that stacked. Stacked is the correct stance for the most effective riding. Let's work on that next week. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to snowboard as long as you're having fun. There's only a more effective way, and that's what we're trying to teach. Everybody kind of steers with their back leg in class, and that's a natural tendency when starting out. That's the reason we're all in lessons. We're trying to just improve. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.